Today's lesson is solving equations by adding and subtracting. Today's joke. Above is what an algebra student did on a test. Today we're going to be solving one-step equations using subtraction and solving one-step equations using addition. Our Indiana Academic Standard is 8.3.1. We're going to look at our properties of equality. Basically said, a property of equality means what you add to one side, you must add to the other side of an equation. What you add to one side of the equal sign, you must add to the other side. Same thing with subtraction. What you add to one, or what you subtract from one side, you must subtract from the other. So looking at the first arithmetic example, we have 10 is equal to 2 times 5. So if we subtracted 5 from 10, we would also have to subtract 5 from the right-hand side. In an algebra equation, if A equals B, then A minus C is the same as B minus C. For addition property, what you add to one side, you have to add to the other. So if we have 8 equals 2 times 4, if we add 3 to the left to the 8, we have to add 3 to the right. So we would end up with 2 times 4 plus 3. In algebra, if A equals B, then A plus C equals B plus C. Inverse operations are operations that undo each other to get the variable alone. Another way to think about inverse operations is they're opposite operations. Addition and subtraction are inverse, they're opposite. Multiplication and division are inverse because they're opposite. Let's take a look at example number 1. We're going to not really use method number 1. There's a lot of repeated writing and wasted time. We're going to use a slight variation on method 2. The one thing we are going to eliminate is we're not going to be drawing those lines across there because lines are going to mean something different in a little bit in another lesson. So let's start with number 1, y plus 5 equals 13. To solve an equation, start by locating the variable. In this particular problem, our variable is y. We want to get y all by itself, so we have to undo what's happening to it. What's happening to it is we're adding 5. To undo adding 5, we're going to subtract 5. If we subtract 5 from the left-hand side of the equation, we must subtract it from the right-hand side. You can think of an equation as a balance, a scale, a balance scale. If you do something to one side, you must do it to the other side. The 5's on the left-hand side have really undone each other. They've canceled each other out. So you're just left with y on the left-hand side of the equation. On the right-hand side of the equation, we have 13 minus 5. 13 minus 5 is 8. We have just solved y equals 8 for this equation. You can substitute back in the 8 for y. 8 plus 5 does equal 13, so we know that this problem is correct. You can literally check every problem you do in algebra. Now let's try 1a. X plus 8 equals 3. We locate the variable. It's x. We're adding 8 to it in our equation, so we have to do the opposite. The opposite is to subtract 8. If we subtract 8 from the left-hand side, we must subtract it from the right-hand side. Our 8's then cancel each other out on the left-hand side, so you're left with x. On the right-hand side, we have 3 minus 8. 3 minus 8 is negative 5. So we have solved this equation to be x equals negative 5. If you substitute back in negative 5 for x, you have negative 5 plus 8. Negative 5 plus 8 does equal 3. So we know that we've solved this equation correctly. Now for 1b. 5 equals d plus 1. We locate our variable. Our variable is d. It's on the right-hand side now, but we can still solve this. What's happening to d is we're adding 1. To undo that, we have to subtract 1. If we subtract 1 from the right-hand side, we have to subtract it from the left-hand side. The ones on the right-hand side cancel each other out. You're left with just d on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, you have 5 minus 1. 5 minus 1 is 4. So 4 is equal to d. So we've figured out our solution is 4. If you substitute it back in for d, 4 plus 1 does equal 5. For 1c, we have c plus negative 4 equals negative 5. Locate your variable c. What's happening to it is we're adding negative 4. The opposite of that is subtracting negative 4. So you're going to subtract negative 4 from both sides of the equation. When we subtract negative 4 from both sides of the equation, on the left-hand side, the negative 4's cancel each other out. On the right-hand side, you're left with negative 5 minus negative 4. Remember, subtracting a negative is like adding a positive. So it's actually -5 plus +4. So -5 plus +4 is -1. So C equals -1. If you need more time to copy down the notes, pause the video, finish up your notes, and then start it again. Larissa wants to increase the number of books in her collection to 327 books. She has 250 books now. Find the number of books she needs to buy. You can think of this in word form. The target number is 250 plus the number to buy. Let X be the number to buy. So she's trying to get to 327, so that's what's going to go first. That's our target number. That is 250 plus X, because that's how many she wants to buy. So we have 327 equals 250 plus X. We locate our variable, which is X. We're going to undo what's happening to it. We're adding 250 in our equation, so we're going to subtract 250 from both sides of the equation. So we end up with the 250s canceling each other out on the right, and we have 327 minus 250 on the left. So when we do that subtraction, we will get 77. So 77 equals X. So Larissa needs to buy 77 more books. If you need more time to copy down the notes, pause the video, finish up your notes, and then start it again. Don't forget to record a question if you have one. I will be checking that tomorrow in class. For question number 3, we are going to be adding to solve an equation. The equation is C minus 23 equals -40. Find the variable. It's C. What's happening to the variable? Well, we're subtracting 23. So to do the opposite of that, we're going to add 23 to both sides of the equation. The 23's cancel each other out, so on the left-hand side, you're left with C. On the right-hand side, we have -40 plus 23. -40 plus 23 is -17. So C equals -17. And if you substitute that into the equation, -17 minus 23 does equal -40. Example number 4. Marcy's CD player costs $113 less than her DVD player. Her CD player costs $78. How much more did her DVD player cost? Well, we first have to think about, we know that her CD player was $113 less than her DVD player. That means if you knew how much her DVD player was and subtracted 110, that would give you how much her CD player cost, which was $78. So verbally, it's the DVD player minus 113 is the cost of her CD player. So we don't know the value of her DVD player, so we're going to use a variable T. So we get T minus 113 equals 78. Now we need to isolate the variable or get T all by itself. To do that, we're going to add 113 to both sides of the equation. On the left-hand side, the 113s cancel each other out, so you're left with T. On the right-hand side, you get 191. So Marcy's DVD player cost $191. If you need more time to copy down the notes, pause the video, finish up your notes, and then start it again. Now I want you to try the quick check. Do the problems, and then bring them to class tomorrow. We're going to actually go over the quick check in class, so make sure you have it done.